Hello, everybody. I'm Lisa Shield.
And I'm Benjamin Shield.
We've been on a bit of a hiatus, so it's really lovely to be back. This is Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. I orchestrated this so that I could get Benjamin to open up and share his brilliant mind with all of you. He really has a very beautiful and unique way of expressing the male experience. And I know that I'm constantly fascinated. He's been an absolutely extraordinary teacher for me. Women have an opportunity to hear how a man feels from a truly kind and loving and compassionate, heartfelt man. So you are a treasure. These are our precious, coveted Sundays when we record these. Right. And it is such an honor just to spend this time with you and that you would do this for me.
First, it's a lot of fun. It's my pleasure. And I really enjoy this time with you. So
I think we just enjoy time together, whatever we're doing. We seem to have fun no matter what. So it's a good life, babe. All right. So today we have what I think is a really important topic. And the more we were talking about it before we started to record, the more we realized that there was so much to say about this subject. What we're going to talk about today is how to dress for a date, and especially for the first date. And we're looking at both overdressing and underdressing. One of the things that we know is that men are very visual, and you only get one chance to make a first impression. I think a lot of women pride themselves on being fashionistas and enjoying fashion, but that fashion can get in the way of making a connection with a man.
Right.
And what you may think and what your girlfriends may think is beautiful and sexy and all just might be overwhelming for a man, especially a man who doesn't know you. And so we advise, especially on that first date, that it's better to be safe than sorry and to tone it down, to be classic rather than classy.
Mm-hmm. Well put.
Yeah. So, babe, let's talk about this. You know, how does a man feel when he sees a woman who's overdressed?
Well, the first impression, if she's walking through the door and she's so overdressed with couture and jewelry and stiletto heels, first he may feel like he's, in another world, on another planet. And also that even though she may be doing this to impress him, he may feel like, oh my Lord, she's high maintenance. Mm-hmm. It's like, how am I going to maintain this lifestyle?
Even if she can provide it for herself.
Yeah.
Right? He's going to be extrapolating. She's going to want to go to constantly go to fancy places. She's going to want expensive gifts. She's going to expect fancy trips.
And he may have to be out of his comfort level to match her couture.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So he may not be able to feel like he could be himself with someone like that.
Mm-hmm. Like he's going to always have to be living up to her standards.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And living someone else's dream.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as fashion, and if someone is so overly dressed and so, maybe too much makeup, stiletto heels, tight fashion clothes,
fancy handbags.
Yeah, it may feel like she's uptight, and that he can't have fun with her.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of an image than a real person. And a man, most of all, when he thinks about having a relationship, a lifelong relationship, is this a person that we will have fun together, and rather than just be almost like chess pieces on a board, that dressed a certain way and moving a certain way.
Yeah. Or it's almost like being in a movie or something, or being dressed up for a part,
Yeah.
playing a part rather than being your own authentic self, even if that is your own authentic sense of style. I think as a woman, you have to sit back and ask yourself, what is the impression I'm giving to a man? What does he think of how I look?
Right. Because you could only make one first impression.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so also a man, when a woman is so highly stylized, overdressed, he may sense that she's either self-absorbed
Mm-hmm.
in her own world
Mm-hmm.
or insecure, that she
Right.
has to overdress to compensate.
Mm-hmm. And he's going to have to constantly be telling her, you look beautiful, you look so great in that. It's going to take her hours to get dressed every
Yeah.
time you go out.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that would be horrible for a man.
Right.
Horrible.
And it also seems like, and I was in a relationship like this, that when a woman is so overdressed and so expensively dressed and decked out, it'll, in a man's mind, it may seem like she will always be looking for the next best offer. Like no matter how great a guy he is, she'll be looking for a man with the most money, to keep her in these clothes. So
Or in this lifestyle.
in this lifestyle.
Uh-huh.
And so, if that's the first impression, then it takes a lot to overcome that for someone to really show their true essence. And it may not come through. And it may be one of the reasons why women, even if it's, seems like a really good first date, that she doesn't get called back for a second date.
Yeah. Yep.
It also seems like, if a man is just dressed comfortably with jeans, a white shirt, maybe, a comfortable sports jacket, but that she'd be too much for him, and the man would never be quite enough, because, men don't really think about couture, most, you see it in GQ magazine, but the average guy, I mean, how many guys do you see around the,
How many heterosexual men?
right,
Yeah.
right, that men dress comfortably,
Right.
and they dress really, as an expression of themselves, not to express something that they're not or try to create an image. I don't think how men dress really try to create a strong image. I think we all dress to create some image, but the image shouldn't override who we are, how we are in the world.
Yeah. And also, I think when you're with a woman who's so overdressed, you're not sitting with a person.
Right.
Like you have to get through this facade, this Barbie doll. Like you don't see a person walking through the door. You see an image.
Yeah.
And you see a sex doll or a Barbie doll or a James Bond girl or a woman who's like going to a business meeting rather than a date.
Yeah. Yeah. A man wants to imagine how it would be with this woman, a week from now, a month from now, 10 years from now. And if she's sitting on the couch in Versace,
And 5-inch heels.
right, and he wants to watch a football game with her, or, just, binge watch, or just, that it doesn't give the feeling of he's going to have, it's going to be a fun relationship.
And there's going to be comfort and ease.
Comfort and ease.
Right, you
right.
feel like you're going to be in an episode of the Kardashians or something.
Right. And that not only goes for someone who's overly dressed,
right,
overly styled, but underdressed for the occasion.
Yeah.
Because a man wants to feel that a woman does want to please him. and will want to please him in the future. So if a woman just comes in and, just, a t-shirt, you know, just like she didn't put any thought into it,
Yeah.
a man will sense that also.
Yeah, and you can dress very casually and still, a woman could dress quite casually,
Absolutely.
but still look great, pull her hair back, put on some light makeup, but look fresh and put together and not have baggy clothes that don't fit, that are not flattering, right? Like she's kind of ambivalent almost.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also want to imagine, as a man, what it would be like introducing this woman to his friends, his business colleagues, his family.
Right.
And so if she's really underdressed, he'd be embarrassed, but he'd also be very uncomfortable if she's so stylized.
Right.
Like what is he doing with someone who is, so stylized that she just wants to create an image rather than really present herself fully?
Yeah, and if she's making him feel uncomfortable, she would make the wives of his his friends uncomfortable, and
Right.
they'd be talking about her behind her back. I mean, I think it could really be an odd thing.
Yeah.
So it's important I think if a woman has a strong sense of style, it's important for her, especially on a first date, to be a little more reserved and toned down than she may normally be, just to kind of gauge her audience and see and get to know the guy. And then it would be different to start wearing some other things or to get a sense of what he likes and doesn't like, and not just only to dress to please a man. I mean, I think there's very few times where I don't know if you've ever told me you didn't like something I was wearing.
Yeah.
I don't think there may be some things you like better than other things, but I don't think you've ever told me you didn't like
No, I
the
think
way
the
I
only
dressed.
time I ever made a fashion suggestion was in Las Vegas when I said, "Didn't you forget to button that button?"
Yeah, I had a little bit of cleavage showing for him. And he said, "Did you forget something?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And I looked down and I said, "Oh, is that too much? That was for you." But you
I think
seemed
that
a
was
little
I
flustered.
think that was the only time.
Yeah, I don't think I ever really dressed inappropriately.
Yeah. And I love that you're comfortable in your clothes. You dress because it's an expression of you. You're not an expression of your clothes.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But I like to dress up, and I am, you've said once to me that I've become very glamorous.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel very special because you're doing that for me. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's never over the top, or I'm never trying to get attention by the way I'm dressing.
And it's not self-absorbed that you're just doing it for yourself and not thinking about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, never. So let's talk about how this interferes with a man's ability to connect with the woman.
Well, it feels like there's a layer removed, or like there's a layer in the way of being with that person because you're really being with an image more than with that essence of a person. So you keep reflecting on what she's trying to project rather than really who she truly is. And so if a man can't get through that layer, he's not going to call back for a second date because there's not that connection. And I think two people on a first date and in a relationship are really trying to connect at their natural frequencies. And I think over stylizing or underdressing can get in the way of really that connection of connecting with two people's natural frequencies.
Yeah, and as we're talking, it's becoming even more and more clear to me how important important clothing is, how image and clothing and how that can completely turn, draw somebody in or turn somebody completely off.
Yeah.
I think something that many women need to ask themselves after they don't get called back for a first date. Let's say you go on a great first date and you think it's amazing, and the man is polite enough, he invited you to dinner or out for drinks, and maybe you sit and talk for 2 hours and then you don't hear from him again. It really could be as simple as what you wore on that date and his first impression of you when you walked in that door. And I know a lot of women listening are probably thinking, but what if that's my sense of style?
Well, true. And it may be. And it may take a very special man. When someone has a strong sense of style, that it may narrow the field of men who can really feel comfortable with that. So we're not talking about dressing in a way that is other than how someone would feel comfortable, but really seeing what's appropriate for that first date and what would be the appropriate first impression, putting themselves in the man's point of view. And I think some women may feel like, wow, I'm going to dazzle him. I'm just going to have so much jewelry and makeup and high heels, and I'm going to so dazzle him that he will be thinking about me 24/7. Where the man may feel very different. He may seem, oh, wow, I'm looking at more of an art piece or something in a museum than a real person. And what a man wants most of all isn't so much to be dazzled, because, as you often say in your program, that we don't necessarily want fireworks in the beginning. We want something to build from the foundation of friendship, trust, and safety to love and passion and forever after. So, that a man, what a woman may feel like she's dazzling a man may feel like, oh man, we're going to have to sit through dinner, aren't we?
Yeah, not the woman I want to bring home to mom.
Right, or just bring home.
Right, at all. Right. And so, it really is almost like a piece of art, like you said, like someone to look at, rather than to be with.
Or a mannequin, because it just doesn't convey warmth and approachability. That even if someone is underdressed, they're for the occasion, they may not seem approachable, and overdressed they may not seem approachable. So what we really want on a first date and in a relationship are for two people to feel that they are approachable to each other, for each other.
Totally. And, like I said earlier, it could be a wonderful date, and the man, a guy may not call you back again because he feels like he would be embarrassed to be seen with you, right? He wouldn't want to take you around his friends or his family, and definitely not around, his colleagues or to a business dinner. He wouldn't feel comfortable walking in with a woman who was so stylized and so overdressed that maybe even his, business associates were looking at her and thinking, she's a bit much. So, yeah, it's important. And look, nobody's saying, or we're not saying, don't have nice things or don't have elegant things. You bought me a Chanel bag. You bought me a Chanel bag, and it was an extraordinary gift, and I treasure it. It's so beautiful, and I feel as a woman so honored, to honestly, it really means a lot to me to have that bag and that gift, especially when we lived in Los Angeles and people did carry beautiful handbags. And it is a status symbol, like having a Rolex watch or something. But I would never go out in a Chanel suit with the Chanel bag and a pair of 4-inch heels and, the glasses and the whole thing. I would look more like a model from a fashion magazine than me. And I can wear that beautiful Chanel bag with, a beautiful pair of black slacks and a nice black cashmere sweater and feel like $1,000,000. Yeah, so it's so important. And just to know that you'd feel proud to walk in a room with me. So, babe, why do you think women feel the need to overdress, or why do some women underdress?
Well, as a man, it sometimes can feel like the woman has low self-esteem, that she has to overdo it, and she's compensating for a low self-image, and so it's a yellow flag, particularly on a first date. You say, why does she have to dress up this much, or why is she underdressing? Because that could be a sign of low self-esteem as well. So,
Yeah. And I think about one of the women who was in our course, a beautiful woman. She's American, but I think her parents were Italian. She was gorgeous, gorgeous. And she always dressed so simply. She wore a lot of black. I think she lived in Los Angeles, but she had lived in New York for quite a while. And she wore a lot of black, but just simple, beautiful sweaters. And, I remember once she was trying to wear lighter things, and so she wore cream or something. But it was always understated, a kind of understated elegance. It would have taken away from her natural beauty if she had worn a lot of fancy, stylish clothes. And I think she was more beautiful for dressing down and being more understated than trying to embellish what was already there. I think that was a huge thing. And so it really was a sign of self-esteem to dress with taste and to be understated. But, some women so badly want to make an impression that they hide behind the fashion and they're afraid to show their real self.
Yeah, they want to be seen, and at the same time, they're afraid to be seen. They want to be seen for what they wear and make an impression, but underneath that, they may be afraid to be seen.
Yeah, for who they are.
Yeah.
And our work is really our course that we teach, the 12-week course that you and I both teach together, called Emotionally Naked Dating, is all about authenticity and being real and putting your true self out there in your profile, in your pictures, in everything to do with how you approach dating, so that a man can connect with the real you. That's what this program is about. And for anybody who is interested in working with us and finding a true path, an authentic path to finding lasting love, or what we call a guardian of your soul relationship, you may want to go to lisashield.com, check out my brand new website, which I'm so proud of, and also click the button there. It's all over the page to watch my free 45-minute presentation, because our approach is truly heartfelt and spiritual and about authenticity. Because, if you're going to go fishing, you got to think about the bait that you're putting on that hook. And our bait is really stripping down all of the pretenses, all of the things that get in the way of making that authentic connection.
That's why we call it emotionally naked dating.
Yeah, because it's about being authentic. So when a woman overdresses, it's really that she's insecure or narcissistic or both.
Yeah, the bottom line is she may not feel enough.
Yeah. Anybody that has to go over the top like that it's really, really about not feeling like you're enough. And I'm not saying, Benjamin and I aren't saying that you can't dress up, and look amazing and really go all out, but especially on a first date. Lead with your authenticity, lead with who you are. And again, I know some of you are saying, well, my authentic self loves to dress up. Well, there are times where you don't dress up.
Right.
There are times where you tone it down, where you're more casual or more understated. So bring that version of you on that first date. There will be time to dress up. There will be times to blow his mind where you will walk out and he won't be able to keep his eyes off of you or his hands off of you.
And he may be in a tuxedo and you will be the most extraordinary couple at the event.
Yeah, but there's a time and a place for that.
And we want it to be approachable and in a man's eyes, not a costume.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that fine line between style and customization.
Right. So the other thing that turns a man off is underdressing, right? That you can be so plain and so underdressed that there's no there.
Yeah. And then a man feels like the woman didn't put much thought into the date or care, or she wasn't looking forward to it. And again, it's extrapolating. What would this be like 10 years from now? Is this woman who is really looking to please me,
Mm-hmm.
or to really come in, really showing her beauty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But if you put no care into how you look, that's a turnoff too. And by the way, there needs to be some degree of wanting to impress each other and still be ourselves.
Yeah.
And I really want to hit the pause button here for a second, because I know there's a lot of women who are listening to this right now and they're like, Lisa, Benjamin, like, what about the guy? I mean, I go on dates and it looks like he just pulled stuff out of the laundry basket and did the sniff test, and he put zero thought into how he looks. And what about that?
Well, the same thing. That's the first impression, and it takes a lot to overcome that first impression. So I hope some men are listening to this, and I hope some men really put care into what they wear on a first date and what they wear for the next 40 years with their partner. Because, when I don't buy a shirt without thinking about, I wonder, if this is something Lisa would like. She likes me in darker colors, or she likes me. So I look for those things because I know it's what she likes.
Aww.
And I like the reflection back in her eyes and her energy when I'm wearing something that she likes.
That's very sweet, honey. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's really, really sweet.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness. All right. So what's appropriate and what's inappropriate? Let's talk about that.
Well, what are turnoffs, or like things that are fake?
Like eyelashes.
It's just long fake eyelashes that just grab a man's attention first, and something that's not natural to a man seems other.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's something in the back of the mind saying that there's something different going on here.
And fake fingernail. I mean, I get my nails done, and I do take care of my nails, but fake nails. Sometimes I'm at the salon and I'm watching these women have these huge Italians on.
I dated a woman with these long fingernails, and I just sense danger, you know,
Like she's going to scratch your eye out.
or, you know, just in intimate moments, you know, it's just like those are not fingernails, they're weapons.
It's interesting that somebody would even want that. I can barely type with the way my nails are right now, but that's another story. What else? What are other inappropriate? What are other things that
You know,
are
something like
turnoffs?
super high heels, you know, like that when a woman walks in, if she's not comfortable walking, you know, a man, it's a turn on, no matter if a woman is, you know, where on the spectrum of beauty a woman is. A man wants a woman to be comfortable in her body, and that's a huge turn on.
Mm-hmm.
And anywhere along that spectrum of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And if a woman is trying to negotiate walking with a tight skirt or high heels, it's not a turn on at all.
Right.
You know, what
That
scene-
woman we saw walking across the street in Beverly Hills. Do you remember
I do,
her?
yeah.
And she was
Oh, I
hunched
do.
over
Right.
because the
Right.
heels were so
She had
high.
about 4-inch heels or so.
Oh, higher.
And she was hunched over, and there's nothing attractive about that. In fact, it's unattractive.
No, she looked like a creature. Like seriously,
And it's still in our mind.
it
and
was so
It's
uncomfortable.
been months later. It's 6 months later.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if the kinds of shoes that you only wear because you know all you have to do is walk from the door to the restaurant
Right.
to the table and back and get in your car. I mean, that's just so weird.
But even walking into the restaurant, if a woman isn't
Mm-hmm.
comfortable,
Yeah. Well, what's really yeah. What else? What else?
well, if she's wearing too much jewelry,
Mm-hmm.
that first it seems to be, it can get in the way because he could just be looking at the jewelry and the adornment.
Mm-hmm.
But it also means that, wow, she buys a lot of jewelry. And a lot of my take-home pay is going to be going for jewelry. So, you know, some jewelry, you know, as adornment is great.
Right.
But-
Like I'm wearing a pin right now. I don't know if everybody can see it, but
But if there's lots of
Yeah.
necklaces and bracelets and you know, very expensive earrings and all of that again is fine. It's just as a first impression before someone gets to know a woman, it just seems like, oh man, I'm going to have to be working just to keep her in this lifestyle.
and it's also important for women to remember if you're going to wear, like, let's say you have a statement piece. This is a wonderful little Miriam Haskell vintage pin, but then you don't drape yourself in a billion other things, right? You wear a small pair of earrings to offset it, but you don't put on, so many different things that a man doesn't know where to look.
Yeah. And also too much makeup.
Mm-hmm.
You know, first it looks artificial.
Mm-hmm. It's a mask.
And then a man, you know, could just imagine what it's like to be intimate with someone wearing a lot of makeup.
Yes.
So,
The other thing, and I have had coached some women like this, and it's so hard to get them to step out, to let this go. But looking like a character from a movie, or a Bond girl or a pinup girl or a Barbie doll, it doesn't make you approachable. It immediately creates a type, an image, so that a man can't get past the image to see the real you. So that's a big one that that women do, and you're constantly staring at the image and the Barbie doll and the girl, and you think you immediately pigeonhole that person and start to make assumptions about who she is, what her personality is like, before you've even gotten said two words to each other.
yeah.
So that's very much of a turnoff. And another one is just like a big turnoff is showing too much skin.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a turn on, but if it's inappropriate, particularly on a first date or at the level of relationship that you're at, it just seems inappropriate, unnatural.
Well, and it's also disturbing for men. Like, I think women are really naive when it comes to men, because if a woman is showing so much skin and she's got all these tight clothes on and all, she thinks she's being sexy and all. But especially for younger men, they are going to get turned on sexually. They have hormones, and it's going to be very, very distracting on the date if a woman is all sexy and she's showing too much cleavage and too much skin.
Or he may be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Like if they're in a restaurant and everyone else is dressed, more appropriate for the venue, and someone comes in showing too much skin, too much cleavage, too short of a skirt, that he may not be turned on. He may be embarrassed.
Yeah. So one rule of thumb, you should never wear a short skirt with a low cut blouse. You wear one or the other, but not both. So be careful. You emphasize your legs or you can emphasize your décolletage, but not both, because then you just look cheap. No matter if it's Versace or whatever, you still look cheap if it's just too much. Less is more, one or the other. But the other thing too that I think really needs to be emphasized, you have to look at this from a guy's perspective. If you're advertising sex, that's what a guy's going to see. And you may have I want to take it slowly and I'm not looking for sex. And a guy is looking at you thinking, then why are you selling sex? Because it's really, you're sending a mixed message. And you really need to look at that, because if you want to take things slowly and you want a man to respect you, you can't go into a date and look like a sex kitten and then not expect a man to want to put his hands all over you, because that you're going to be sending a mixed message. So dress down, dress appropriately, but don't advertise sex and then turn around and tell a man you want to take it slowly. Yeah. That's not a good idea.
Yeah. And also, some women will dress conservatively because they don't want to overdress or underdress, but they'll come in business attire, like a business suit, like they're, and a man may feel like he's there for a job interview. There's no, I think for a woman, business attire purposely means that there's very little sexual appeal. And where we don't want to oversell sexual appeal, it is about a man meeting a woman meeting a man, and having that little bit of flirtatious. So it doesn't, you don't want to seem like too matronly or too corporate.
Yeah. So what's a turn on, honey?
Well, I think the biggest turn on for a man is for a woman to be comfortable in her clothes and how she moves in her clothes. And that is the biggest turn on.
And how her clothes move with her.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. How her clothes move with her and how she moves with her clothes. So how do you dress for a first date?
Well, if you're going for coffee, if you're going to meet at a Starbucks, you want to dress casually. You don't want to try to over-impress someone, and you want to be relatable. You want to say, and so there's something artificial if someone overdresses or underdresses for an occasion.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just always think about those women in Sex in the City. I used to watch that show and I would think, oh my God. I mean, what would a guy think? You would look at men like Mr. Big and all those guys. Those men wouldn't have wanted to date those women the
Yeah.
way they looked.
Yeah, I think I've only seen the program, just walking through the TV room.
Yeah.
But the woman who seemed most attractive was a brunette
Yeah.
who was just kind of plain. She had a natural beauty, a sweetness,
Yeah.
but she wasn't overdressing. She wasn't wearing a dress that, like looked like a top of a wedding cake.
Well, she was more Chanel. Like she
Oh.
was a very classy sort of, Upper East Side kind of girl. So she dressed very classy and had more of a classic style. Sarah Jessica Parker was the flamboyant one who was always overdressed and dressed weirdly. She very Barney's. But it was such a turnoff. And she was that woman who you wondered how she could move in her clothes because her clothes didn't move with her. So the thing to remember is it's not a fashion show, it's a date. And you're better safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Right? So to me, the safest bet is a classic white cotton button down shirt, jeans or a nice skirt, and a pair of boots. And you could wear that to a nice dinner and you could wear that to a coffee date. So if you're not sure what to wear, just wear a beautiful, crisp, white button down cotton shirt, a pair of jeans, a really nice, not my mom's jeans or baggy jeans, but a nice fitted pair of jeans and a great pair of boots. And that's gonna knock a guy's socks off every time. One of the biggest problems is that women don't realize how much space we can take up. We're going and doing, and we like to rush around, and we're busy, and we pride ourselves on being active. And very often, men don't know where they're going to fit into our lives and into our worlds. And one of the most wonderful gifts that we can give a man is space. He needs space to see where he's going to fit into our world and whether or not we're going to be willing to fit into his world too.
Right. He doesn't want to feel like has to live someone else's dream.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone walks in with Versace and which is great, but if it's the appropriate moment and venue, and if a woman is so coutured all the time, he's going to feel like he has to live her dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it may not even be so coutured. It could be less expensive clothing. You could go to Forever 21, and or Anthropologie or wherever people are shopping these days, and you could still be overdressed and still have too much. And it is going to turn a man off. What a man would love is a little bit of a silk blouse, a beautiful fabric even. That's enough, like a beautiful silk blouse or some ruffles around your neck that make a man think, oh, she's feminine, because those are things a man would never wear. Beautiful fabrics are also very sensual, something with a little bit of transparency to it, where it leaves something to the imagination, where a man is looking a little bit to see if he can get a little glimpse of your lingerie underneath it. But things that are a bit more subtle, especially in the beginning. And then you can bring out your fancy shoes and your beautiful bags and all, but give a man a chance to get to know you, to get to see who you are, and to show a man that you have taste and that you have style, but that you're conscious of him, and that you want to see what he likes and what lights him up, And don't try to dazzle him and be a peacock, right from the start. Even a peacock walks around and puts its feathers down and struts around. And then there's that beautiful moment where it spreads, its tail and everybody goes, ah. So give him a moment, don't walk in with your tail already spread. Walk in with your tail, not between your legs, but keep it subtle and give yourself and give him a chance to get to know you, and don't let the fashion get in the way.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. I liked that one. That was a good one, babe. Very good. All right. We send you our love. This has been Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. I'm Lisa Shield.
And I'm Benjamin Shield.
Please go to my website, click on the button to watch my free 45-minute presentation, Stay to the End. If you would like to book a call with me or a member of my team, we'll jump on a call and we will show you how getting emotionally naked is the way to attract the guardian of your soul. So if you want a guy like Benjamin, then please take the time to learn about how to do this. Love like this doesn't fall from the sky. I didn't get lucky. I did the work to have this, and so did Benjamin. Just so everyone knows, this is my second marriage. It's Benjamin's third. And it took us therapy and coaching and working with some of the best mentors and teachers out there to be able to get this right.
Before we met. And we've been together over 20 years.
Yeah, we just celebrated our 20th anniversary of our first date and our 18th anniversary of our wedding. So we have enjoyed every moment of our time together, but we did the work to get it right this time. And all I need is 12 weeks to teach you more than most women will ever know in this lifetime about men and love and dating and how to make an emotionally naked connection. Please rate and like this podcast. Send us your emails. We would love to know your thoughts. You can do that by sending an email to podcast@lisashield.com. You can give us a thumbs up on YouTube and come back and see us again. Please tell your sisters and brothers and friends and cousins and aunts and uncles and mothers and fathers and everybody you know about this podcast, because we really do feel we're saying something no one else is saying in a way that no one else is saying it. We're teaching you how to find true love authentically. We've created a spiritual path that truly works. It's worked for thousands of our clients, and it can work for you too. So please don't waste another moment of your beautiful, precious life and precious time. We can show you how to get this solved now. Come back and see us again. Bye-bye.